How are Supreme Court justices nominated? CNBC reports Justice Anthony Kennedy is stepping down at the end of July, paving the way for the president to nominate a new Supreme Court judge. When a Supreme Court justice retires, the president has to nominate a new candidate. The nominated candidate will then be questioned by the Senate Judiciary Committee about key issues, a process that takes an average of 60 days. The Senate Judiciary Committee sends a candidate to the Senate, where they debate back and forth about his or her qualifications. To end the discussion, 60 votes are required in what is known as a cloture motion. According to CBS News, those voting in the Senate tend to reject or accept candidates based on their political leanings. After ending the debate, the Senate will conduct a simple majority vote, requiring at least 51 votes, with the vice president breaking the tie if necessary. The court orders you to keep watching.
Europe toughens privacy laws. Europe is about to embark on a big-time revamp of privacy laws. From May 2018, businesses operating in the European Union could be fined 20 million euros, or 4% of their global turnover, for violating new privacy legislation. The fine amount is determined by whichever figure is larger. According to the New York Times, 4% of Facebook's global turnover would be around $1.6 billion US. According to Reuters, the law will apply to social media companies, banks, insurance firms, technology businesses, and any enterprise which collects consumer data en masse. Can't they all just operate from London then? No. This affects Brits as well. The UK is still a member of the EU and remains subject to EU law until they Brexit next March. The new law means that companies need to be more transparent about how they handle user data, get permission for it, and it also gives users power to request for it to be deleted or moved elsewhere. So, as the Times reports, this could mean moving your banking information from one bank to another, or even switching your Spotify playlist to another provider. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen warned the law may give rise to more cyber threats. She said users opting not to give information may hamper internet security research, which relies on trends in this data. The new law comes into effect in all 28 EU states on Friday, May 25th of this year. WhatsApp bans millions of Brits as new privacy law comes into play. Millions of Brits are now reportedly without access to the world's most popular chat app thanks to new legislation from the European Union. Basically, anyone under 16 years of age who didn't verify their age has been dropped from WhatsApp, thanks to the European Union's new General Data Protection Regulations. That's GDPR for short. Now, that law, in case you live in a cave and haven't been spammed by companies you've long forgotten about over data for the last 6 months, is meant to enforce privacy EU-wide. But what about Brexit? Whole other discussion, Tomo sapiens, but TLDR? UK is still subject to EU law until March 2019 at the earliest. That means companies like the Facebook-owned WhatsApp need to comply with it if they want to continue doing business in Europe. So how are they going to check users' real ages? Well, from as far as we can tell, pre-16 WhatsApp user wipeout, all anyone had to do to continue using the service was to check a box saying they were over 16. Now, that'll be super effective, right? After all, it's not like anyone, especially kids, will lie about their age to access stuff they shouldn't online in 2018. Facebook moves users to duck EU privacy law. While the world is still trying to figure out why the Zuckerberg needs a booster chair, his social media juggernaut was busy making moves. Facebook has moved more than 1.5 billion users out of reach of a new European Union privacy law. Users outside the US and Canada are currently governed by terms of service agreed with the social network's international headquarters in Ireland. The European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, is set to take effect May 25th. The new law allows European regulators to fine companies for collecting or using personal data without users' consent. Facebook is liable under GDPR fines of up to 4% of its global revenue, around $1.6 billion, for any infractions. Facebook user data from Asia, Africa, and Latin America will be transferred from the Ireland headquarter offices to main offices in California. The change affects more than 70% of the site's 2 billion-plus members. As of December, Facebook had 239 million users in the US and Canada, 370 million in Europe, and 1.52 billion users everywhere else. Let's be honest, people, if you're really concerned about your privacy, don't sign up for free social media sites.
wireless sensor can activate police cameras automatically. A new product designed for law enforcement officers can trigger their body cameras to start recording automatically. The Signal sidearm is a wireless sensor attached to an existing police firearm holster. It can also be integrated into dash cameras, body cams, and other wearable cameras such as head cams. When a gun is drawn from a holster, the sidearm triggers all cameras within 30 feet to begin recording automatically. This allows footage of the same event to be recorded from different perspectives. The product will be available in the third quarter of 2017.
Marriage crusader Kim Davis jailed for contempt of court. Well, she certainly can't say she wasn't warned. Kentucky County Clerk marriage crusader Kim Davis said she'd go to jail in defense of wedding Adams and Eves only, and on Thursday a federal judge said okay and jailed her. Davis is a 49-year-old elected Democrat and self-described devout Christian, but despite being on her fourth marriage to a man she married, divorced, and remarried, Davis strenuously objects to even first marriages for gay people. For 2 months, Davis has refused to issue marriage licenses to anyone due to her strong personal beliefs that marriage is between one man and one woman at a time. Her supporters are fervent, but they might have forgotten that no one held a gun to Davis's head and said, "Marry gays or else." She had every right to resign in protest. A flight attendant who recently converted to Islam and now won't serve alcohol to passengers is another example of a person who simply needs to find a different job. In all likelihood, Kim Davis is a kind, decent human being. The fact that she's sitting in jail is sad, and we hope she sees the light and is released as soon as possible. In short, not doing your job doesn't make you a martyr. It just makes you an irresponsible employee. If you can't do your job, then don't do it, okay?
Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died over the weekend. What now? The sudden death of 79-year-old Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia on Saturday has the chance to change the ideological balance of the Supreme Court for a generation. However, Senate Republicans have made it very clear they'll do anything to prevent that change from happening and won't approve of Scalia's replacement until next year. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's death on Saturday means that the Supreme Court now has the same number of Democrats and Republicans. While Supreme Court cases can still proceed, the possibility of a 4-4 split occurring is likely. When this happens, a lower court's decision is upheld and no precedent is set. President Obama, who has appointed 2 justices during his terms, will want to appoint Scalia's replacement before his term ends in 2017. Senate Republicans, though, have already made it very clear they're not going to make it easy for Obama. Obama will first nominate a candidate who then goes through an extensive financial and personal background check. The FBI probes their criminal history, if any, as well. The Senate Judiciary Committee, made up of 18 senators, then interviews the nominee and asks questions about their past casework and qualifications before they and a full Senate vote on the nominee. However, in this case, Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, a Republican, has already said he will refuse to even begin the confirmation process. Although a simple majority of 46 Senate Democrats and 5 Republicans is all that's needed to confirm an appointment, Republicans would likely filibuster to obstruct proceedings. 60 votes are needed to overturn the filibuster. The longest it has ever taken to confirm a Supreme Court nominee is 125 days. Obama has more than 300 days left in office, so it's possible we may have just 8 justices for quite a while.